All right. Well, welcome to the MSDW podcast. I'm Jason Gumpert, editor at msdynamicsworld.com. I'm here today with Chris Winstanley of NMB Solutions. Hey, Chris, welcome.
Oh, hi, Jason. Thank you. Good to be here.
Great to have you. Can you give a bit of an introduction? I'm guessing some of our readers and listeners may be familiar with you because you've been with us before in different formats. But tell us a little about yourself and what you do.
Oh, sure. So, as you say, I'm Chris Winstanley from NMB Solutions, and I'm the Vice President of Solutions Management at NMB, which is a very long title to say I really work on the pre-sales and solution consulting side. So I act as the interface between our sales team and our technical teams, really to bring the solutions to life, I would say. And just to get kind of a bit of background, I've been with NMB now coming up to 9 months, but my whole career has really been in supply chain technology and supply chain solutions. So I'm really looking to bring that knowledge and that experience into both the NMB and I guess the overall D365 world.
All right, excellent. Well, I wanted to maybe start with just to get a bit of your perspective. As we talk today, we're kind of coming out of a couple of really interesting community events, one in North America, one in Europe. I know NMB was involved in both. You were at one of them. You couldn't be at both, nor could I. But can you give us a little sense of what your impressions were coming out of the North American Dynamics Con event, and maybe what your team saw and heard at Dynamics Minds in Slovenia?
Yeah. It was an interesting challenge for us. I think I made a joke on LinkedIn somewhere about being a good job that we are specialists in supply chain and logistics, because we had to get the right people and the right things to the right country at the right time. Because, as you know, both events were going on, on the same days. I think they were both really good events. From my own personal experience at DynamicsCon and the feedback that I got from the team, that were at Dynamics Minds, first things that stood out were obviously the events were really well organized and very well attended and had that sort of community feel to them. And I think that, for me, certainly, that's what makes events like these successful. The ability to combine the educational and knowledge sharing sessions with that more relaxed environment that encourages attendees to network and to build relationships and partnerships kind of on a more informal basis. The other thing that occurred to me was having, in both cases, I think, certainly from DynamicsCon, the support from Microsoft as well, partly in terms of sponsorship, but more importantly, in terms of the speakers supporting the event, really helps build on the credibility and the value that all different types of attendees get from it. I mean, certainly from our perspective, from an NMB perspective, I say it's thumbs up for both events, and we're certainly looking to be involved and into the ones that we're scheduled for next year as well.
All right, excellent. I mean, another reason we wanted to talk now is because NMB is celebrating its 25th anniversary right now. Can you tell us a little about your perspective on the company's evolution, what it's gone through in terms of transforming over time, and how you see the business model and strategy, where it's come from, and how it's shifted?
Yeah, so as a team, we're obviously very proud to be celebrating 25th anniversary. I think it's pretty fair to say that any company that reaches a milestone like this has had to has to evolve and adapt. And that's certainly the case with NMB. From starting out in 1998, I believe, as the first Exapta VAR in Canada, through to what we are now as an ISV that's fully focused on supply chain solutions. And also that kind of move through, I guess, Exapta AX and into now, finance and supply chain. And at the same time, if you think the change in the business models coincided with the shift that we've all experienced, where technology has evolved from license-based and kind of more on-premise models of software to full cloud solutions as a service. That it's kind of an ongoing parallel challenge, if you like. The other thing that we've seen is, I guess, there's two things I'll say. One is we extended our solution offering. So kind of starting out with a parcel solution, this parcel shipping solution, and then adding more recently full transportation management and restricted party screening alongside that, has really kind of, in one sense, broadened our horizons, but still within that remit of supply chain and compliance. And I say that for a reason that will come up in just 1 second. But the other thing we've done is enter into partnerships with some of the world's best supply chain and compliance solutions, so we can get their functionality, from the likes of E2Open, Shipwell, Descartes, and Enshift in Europe, and bring those into the F&O ecosystem, and expose it to our customers. But the reason I said broaden our horizons to a certain extent is because I think one of the things that has allowed the company to be successful, I guess, and to still be here after 25 years, is that determination to very much focus on the areas that we specialize in and not be tempted to diversify too much. So, I would say the value quite often of an ISV is in the specialized knowledge and expertise it brings, in as much as the extended functionality within a solution or for a solution. And it's really important, I think, to recognize that internally in your own business, and not allow yourself to become diluted by become overreaching and overextending and creating your too broad a portfolio. Certainly, I would say that from the NSB, the NMB perspective.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And as you were speaking there, I just thought that it just made me think back to some of the presentations and things I've heard you and your team say from going back to 2020, 2021 about some of this supply chain expertise, when that was kind of like the first thing in kind of even non-supply chain people's minds, just in the world with supply chain issues and the pandemic, and sort of the expertise that NMB team members were able to sort of talk about and help almost kind of clarify to bring a better understanding of what some of those challenges were for businesses. And I guess maybe it was just me, I was sort of extrapolating a bit what that meant for kind of everyday people in the world, downstream from all the operational challenges there. But what I wanted to ask you next was, given all of that, what does the supply chain sort of ISV landscape look like from a competitive perspective?
So, as I mentioned kind of during my little intro there, I've really only been involved in what I would, I guess, term the ISV landscape for around 9-10 months. So I'm not sure I've seen it change too much from a competitive standpoint. But I think the way I prefer to look at it is to think of it as maybe from a collaborative standpoint. I think that I've really come to appreciate, not just kind of over, I guess, partly over the time that I've been here, but also through the events that we just talked about, like Dynamics Minds, is I've come to really appreciate that collaborating with Microsoft and Microsoft's implementation partners, so you can understand kind of the overall strategy on the one hand on the Microsoft side, but also making sure that we're providing tangible value with our solutions on the partner side. So that means that actually looking to build closer relationships, and ongoing relationships where we work together, so that we're not really competing for business on an opportunity by opportunity basis. It's more about, say, that network and collaboration to build an overall solution that's kind of repeatable. That's probably how I would look at it at the moment.
Can you talk at all about bets NMB is making for the future in terms of cloud technology and product roadmap?
Yeah. I think it ties in a little bit to what we've been talking about in terms of how NMB has evolved over time. So we try and keep a close watch on the trends in physical supply chain, a little bit like you just mentioned, and so something that's very much come to the fore recently in people's minds, but also the advances in technology such as AI, machine learning. But perhaps the most important thing is how those things can then be applied to supply chain technology to make sure we're able to evolve and adapt and be future-proof. So what we're seeing really with Microsoft's general shift to making supply chain and logistics, I guess, more of a platform play, and bringing in things like connector-driven services and composable applications, we're very much see our future as part of that approach. So bringing parcel shipping and restricted party screening solutions very kind of specifically as Azure applications, so they can be connected into any part of the D365 ecosystem. So we're talking about, say, Microsoft Supply Chain Center or Intelligent Order Management, being able to connect to those, but also connect and share information with third-party applications that make up a business's overall supply ecosystem. I think that's something that we're hearing a lot more about. We talk about supply chain, and that's the word that's commonly out there. But actually, that gives you that concept of a kind of a very linear process as we kind of learn more and more together about supply chains, as they become more to the fore, we start to understand that actually it's an ecosystem, and it's kind of more sort of, I'm trying to do kind of a circle with my hands there, but more of like a kind of almost a web, I would say, that doesn't always involve all Microsoft solutions or all third-party applications. And there has to be a way of those to be able to communicate more effectively.
All right, excellent. I mentioned earlier NMB is sort of celebrating its 25th anniversary this year. Any other thoughts about what the future holds for the company and for the work that you do?
A couple of things really I'd just like to say on that, Jason. So obviously, on a personal note, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of the NMB team who have helped us reach the milestone, together with our customers, of course, and also the partners that help us develop solutions to bring value to those customers. Clearly, without those three factors, we wouldn't be where we are. It'd be a much more short-lived story. I think in terms of just kind of more generally planning for the future and going forwards, and maybe something if I were to maybe offer advice or a suggestion for other companies perhaps looking at what we've done and how they could be successful, is that as specialists in supply chain, we know that really now the only certainty is uncertainty, and the things in the world change at a pace that traditional ERP and software applications can't match. So if you are planning for the future, my suggestion would be staying focused on solutions that harness those new technologies we've kind of briefly mentioned, and look to solve business problems with them, provide better integration between systems and between business partners, improve data sharing, and kind of providing greater visibility of data across that ecosystem I've mentioned. And really make sure you're bringing value to the customers, that you're building on what they have today rather than replacing existing functionality. And that's certainly the mantra that we're taking forward for, hopefully the next 25 years and beyond.
All right. Well, we will leave it there. Chris, thanks so much for sharing today. Great to always hear an update from you, and I hope to see you out in the conference world again soon.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. Appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you too.
This has been another episode of the MSDW podcast. My thanks once again to Chris Winstanley for joining me. This episode was sponsored by NMB Solutions. To learn more about the company and their software, please visit nmbsolutions.ca. And that's it for this episode. If you want to get in touch with me, send me an email, jgumpert@msdynamicsworld.com. For all of our updates, please do follow us on LinkedIn or on Twitter. Until next time, this is MS Dynamics World, signing off.